I'm not that nice girl anymore. Vi looked at me and said, "You seem really different, Lan." I just smiled, softly, but deep down I knew exactly why. I had stopped doing something I'd been doing almost my whole life, trying to please everyone. I used to always try to be kind, agreeable, easygoing. "It's okay," my go-to phrase. Even when I wasn't okay, I apologized when I had done nothing wrong. I stayed silent when I was misunderstood. I said yes, just because I was afraid they'd stop liking me. Vi once asked, "Why are you always so agreeable with everyone?" I answered, "Because I don't want anyone to be upset." But I was upset, and no one noticed. I was tired, but I kept smiling. Every day I wore a smiling mask. I no longer knew what I truly felt. Whether happy or sad, everything had to be filtered before showing. I lived as if love had to be earned by being easy to deal with. I thought if I stayed agreeable, I wouldn't be abandoned. Don't you ever feel tired? Me, I've gotten used to it. Used to holding it in. Used to staying silent. But that habit slowly distanced me from myself. I began not recognizing myself in the mirror. A shadow that knew when to smile, when to lower her head. I didn't hate anyone, but I started to feel angry at myself. Why did I have to try so hard just to not be disliked? Then one day, I couldn't take it anymore. I looked into the mirror and didn't want to act anymore. For the first time, I said no. No to an invitation I didn't want to accept. No to someone who only called when they needed something. They replied, "Huh? You're usually cool with this. Why so difficult now?" I typed a reply, then deleted it, and stayed silent. I was trembling. I was scared they'd be mad, scared of being excluded. But inside, I felt lighter for the first time. I started turning down more things. I left the group chats that drained me. I stopped saying yes to things my heart clearly said no to.
Vi asked, "Are you okay? You've been so quiet lately."
I smiled and said, "I'm learning not to disturb myself anymore." I started distinguishing true kindness from silent endurance. I realized I had let others get used to me having no boundaries. Some people didn't like my changes. They said I was cold, selfish, not like I used to be. But I no longer felt the need to explain. I didn't want to be pleasing anymore. I wanted to be true to myself. At first, I felt alone. But I realized solitude while being true feels better than suffocation in pretense.
Vi asked, "Do you regret the people who left?"
I shook my head. I didn't lose them. I lost the role they loved. I began learning to listen to myself before anyone else. I chose peace, not forced silence. I realized self-love isn't about letting others go. It's about not letting go of yourself to keep them. After I stopped trying to please others, I realized I didn't know who I was anymore. I was like an old house in need of cleaning and rebuilding from the inside out. I started writing, not to sound poetic but just to survive. Each night I poured my heart onto paper. No judgment, no filter. I wrote about the times I stayed silent despite the pain. About the times I smiled when all I wanted was to cry. And for the first time I felt heard by myself. I began listening to healing podcasts. Some words touched wounds I hadn't even named yet.
Vi asked, "Have you thought about seeing a therapist?"
I replied, I have, and I think it's time. I remember my first session. I cried the moment I sat down. Not because of what was asked, but because someone finally listened. I spoke things I had buried for years. I realized my feelings were valid, my pain was real, and I deserved to heal. I learned to forgive myself for the times I lacked courage, for the years I made myself smaller. I wrote, I'm no longer the girl who needs to be accepted. I'm the woman learning to accept herself. I cared for myself, not to be admired, but to survive. A warm glass of water, a soft song, washing my hair just a little more gently. I learned to love myself, piece by piece. Not quickly, not completely, but enough to stop abandoning myself.
Vi asked, "So do you feel okay now?"
I replied, not completely, but I no longer feel bad for not being okay. I no longer strive to be good, to be loved. I just want to be myself and still be loved. I didn't recover in a day, a week, or even a month. Healing was a slow journey, with setbacks, with exhaustion. But I kept going, one small step at a time. I started cherishing the smallest moments. A morning without sadness, a day without pretending, sunlight that didn't feel heavy. I reconnected, but this time as my real self. No more masks, no more performances, just me, enough and sincere.
Vi said, "I like you more now than before."
I asked why.
Vi smiled. "Because now you don't try to make people like you."
I started sharing my story. Not to be pitied, but so someone would know they're not alone. I helped those who, like me, once smiled under pressure and suffered in silence. Not with advice, just with presence and understanding. I realized healing isn't about forgetting the darkness. It's about learning to carry it and still keep walking. I once thought I had to be accepted by others to deserve a good life.
Vi asked. What do you want the most now?
I smiled. I want to live and live truthfully. Remember, you are not alone. You just need to be yourself, and that is enough. Stop living to please others. Live so you don't abandon yourself. And one day the right people will stay for your most authentic self.